Hi, this is Carl the Cobra Frutch, and you're watching Lights Out.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Final Round podcast with myself, Faisal Khan. And today's guest, I'm delighted to be joined by Stephen Swifty Smith, a man who comes from one of the most respectable families in boxing. Stephen, thank you for taking your time out to join us for episode 2 of the Final Round podcast. Firstly, how you doing, mate?
All good, mate. Hope you're well.
I'm very well, thank you for asking. Stephen, obviously the purpose of this podcast is to sort of get to know the guest, outside of the ring. So obviously one of my first questions to you is what was your first memories of growing up as a boxing fan, coming from a family such as the Smith family? What was your first fond memory of boxing, mate?
Tough one. Obviously, like, we used to box a lot with my brothers at home. We were always sparring in the house. We always had like the Rocky films on the telly, so that was probably it. But actual real boxing, my dad was a bit of a fan of Mike Tyson, so we had a lot of Mike Tyson's fights on at home, and we used to spend a lot of time watching the Fab Four video with Leonard, Hearn, Hagler, and Duran. So one of them two, probably Mike Tyson or that video, was probably one of my first memories of actual boxing.
As I mentioned, you come from one of the most respectable families in boxing. You and your three brothers have all had great careers, world titles, British titles, fought on some of the biggest shows in boxing around the UK, in America. Just talk to us. What was it like growing up in a family? As you mentioned, your father was a fan of boxing, and of course Liam, Paul, Callum, and yourself. What was it like growing up in that environment around, another three brothers who were also into boxing as well?
Obviously for us, it was something that we never knew any different. It was just normal to us. We grew up, boxing was a big part of our life, and it still is. It's still a big part of our life. It's just something that's become normal, but it's always helped us in the sense of we've always had someone to talk to whenever we needed, whenever we had anything boxing related to that we were going through. We always had someone who's probably already been through it or is going through it at the same time. So it was good in that way, but again, boxing for us is it's life. It's normal to us.
You're a proud Scouser, born in Liverpool, Merseyside. A wonderful city, the greatest city in the world. We obviously woke up today with a bit of sad news about Jurgen Klopp. I know how much the fans love their sport in the city of Liverpool. What was it like growing up in Liverpool as a young kid for you and the rest of your family?
The best. Listen, again, we didn't know no difference. It was normal to us, but I wouldn't change my upbringing for the world. It was amazing. It was like so many good people in Liverpool, and gets a bad name sometimes, but being a Scout and being from Liverpool, how close we are and how much we back our own, and we're very supportive of each other, and that's how we are as a family. Really, it's just sort of that mentality, what's in you, you just we're proud people, but we never forget where we're from either.
I'm sure you had huge dreams and aspirations as a young child, but just talk to me about your childhood. What were you like in school, around education, growing up? I mean, were you a quiet child? Were you in and out of trouble? What was that like for you, Stephen?
Yeah, I was quite bright at school, to be honest with you. I enjoyed school. My mum pushed me quite a lot to make sure that I made sure I'd done my homework and done my schoolwork to make sure I was and able to go to boxing. She made sure I'd done the academic side because, again, I was quite talented in terms of, my mental attributes was sort of got me all good results in all my work at school. So she made sure I'd done that side of things to be able to go and do the boxing, and boxing was like a reward for me. So I liked school. I was quite academic, and it was something that probably when you look back, some of the best days of your life in school, and you just don't realise at the time.
You've got your own family now. You've got kids. And I know obviously your career was as a boxer. What do you tell your kids now about education and trying to make something of their lives? And are you hoping that they can sort of maybe go down a career route, or would you like to see them perhaps maybe follow the family's footsteps and become a boxer?
Probably similar to my mum. I try and make sure they get the work done at school and they're putting in at school, because academically, I want them to have a good tuition to go into whatever they want to be in life. If the path leads them down that road where they're going to need to fall back on their academic skills, then I want them to be the best. But if they choose sport, then then so be it. I wouldn't sort of force them into anything. Whatever they want to do, they can do. And my second eldest lad, Leo, is into the boxing. He's the first left-hander in our family, and he's well, since my dad, and he's sort of into the boxing now, and he's going to the Thunder. So he may stick to it, he may not. I don't know. My eldest lad, Frankie, just loves the football, and he's playing football every week. So whatever they choose to do, as long as they're happy, I'll fully back them.
I've met your kids. I met them last weekend at the show in Liverpool. I can tell that they're full of energy, and obviously, unfortunately, one of the biggest issues we've got in this country right now is knife crime and gang related issues. What's it like over in Liverpool, and what do you put down? What do you put it down to? Knife crime and gang related issues with children these days, Stephen?
Listen, it's right at the minute. It's quite normal now for kids to be going out. When I was younger, we used to get ready to go out, and you'd make sure you got your aftershave on, you've got your money. These are like counting a knife as part of the things to bring out with them, and it's crazy, to be honest with you. But I don't know whether it's ill discipline. I don't know whether it's having no discipline in terms of going to, what you've got going on in your life, whether you need a sport or something to put your energies into, which would keep them on the sort of straight and narrow away from these type of things. But if there was an answer to it, then it would be solved and it wouldn't be happening. So obviously people don't know what's going on and why the reasons are. But for some reason, these young cowards are taking knives out and think it's normal to do so. And, they're just exactly that, in my opinion. They're just cowards. They're scared of confronting, life and confronting things that may go on a night out. Listen, most nights out, you'd have a good time, you'd have a laugh, and you go home happy. And now and then you get into a confrontation. Be man enough to front the situation yourself and sort it out yourself. You don't have to revert to knives and pulling weapons out. You're just a coward.
I couldn't agree more, mate. Did you think that one of the problems we've got these days is that I mean, you're only a few years older than me, but do you think one of the problems we've got is that we don't fear our parents no more? We don't fear our role models, i.e., parents, aunties, uncles. Do you think that's sort of gone out the window as well, Stephen?
Yeah, again, the discipline. I just don't think it's there no more. I think when you were younger, it was sort of quite common that kids got disciplined by the parents, and you were scared of doing wrong for the sort of fear of your mum would finding out, and I just don't think it's there no more. I think now everyone's sort of mollycoddled, and the discipline's gone, and people can twist that and say what they want about it, but I don't think it's the same. It's not the same this generation now. I don't think there's anyone to answer to, and they're getting away with murder.
I want to talk to you about something that till this day has still affected the city of Liverpool. One of the most tragic events you can possibly think of was obviously what happened in 1989 at Hillsborough. Unfortunately, 97 fans lost their lives. I've had the pleasure of speaking to Margaret Aspinall many years ago as part of a university project, and just speaking to her, I can tell how badly it affected her. Obviously, she lost her son. You're a proud Liverpudlian. Until this day, the fight for justice still continues. What can you remember those memories of Hillsborough? And talk to me about how it still affects the city till this day, and how the fight for justice is still continuing. If you don't mind, please, Stephen.
Yeah, I was very young at the time. I don't remember it, but sort of grew up around it and knew something big has happened, and a lot of people talking about it. So to have grew up in the era where it was so fresh and such a tragedy and talked about so often, I realised quite quickly how big and how much it meant to more sort of families as well as the city. But that still lives on now. We're talking, many years later, where people are still fighting for justice. People are still fighting for, to sort of put right the names of people that did lose their lives there. And a lot of the time, with obviously the stupid papers and stuff that were sort of slandering the names and saying it was their own fault and stuff like that. And the fact that they've gone around and the families, bless them, have fought so hard for justice and made right of a lot of wrongs is a massive thing for the city. But it also shows the character known to us Scousers as what we are as people, really. And we won't back down, and we'll always back our own.
I know obviously there was a lot of confrontation between, the city of Liverpool and the government, you know. But what did Hillsborough teach the city of Liverpool in terms of the government sort of, how it is towards the city of Liverpool? Do you feel as if that the government, even without Hillsborough, do you feel as if the government has given the city of Liverpool the love that it deserves, just like the rest of the UK? Or what would you say that the relationship between Liverpool and the government's down to, Stephen, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know, mate. To be honest with you, I don't really go down the politics route. I don't really like it all. I think it's just something what ever since back in them days where Thatcher and them sort of looked down the nose at Liverpool and sort of went along with lies and put a lot down to like try to blame Liverpool fans and said they were doing things they wasn't doing and stuff like that. I think it's just always been us versus them type of thing, and it's still the same now. You know what I mean? People go on about you know the royals and the government and stuff, and people in Liverpool have got no respect for it because they don't feel like we get anything back. So it's just one of them things. It's just you brought up in this city, who backs and you know who don't, and no one's really got any love for the government, especially these Tory lot who are in now. We're just sort of ruining the country, in my opinion. The country's on its knees, and it's as bad as I've ever known it in my lifetime.
The fight for justice will always continue until eventually Liverpool, the city of Liverpool, does get the justice that it deserves. As I said, you're a proud Liverpudlian, and we hope that justice is served one day. Do you believe it's only a matter of time before the right results eventually do come out of what happened that tragic day at Hillsborough, Stephen?
Yeah, I think they're getting there now. You're seeing things that are getting overturned, and the justice appeals are going well, and they keep getting the right results, and things are getting overturned, and things are getting overshadowed now where the results are reaping rewards. It's just sad that it took so long because there's families and loved ones who've lost their children at Hillsborough and they didn't live to see the day. And that's a heartbreaking thought. But as long as it all goes the way everyone wants to, then I'm sure everyone will be happy. Deep down.
Well, justice for the 97, and just like yourself, I pray that the fans, the families, and the city of Liverpool gets the justice that it deserves. We'll move on now. We'll talk a bit about your amateur career and your professional career. Amateur career, over 150 fights, gold medal winner at the 2006 Championships, 2007 Commonwealth Game gold medal winner, won ABAs in 2005 and 2006, British champion, Commonwealth champion, challenged for the world title twice, I believe. Can you honestly say that you got everything you wanted out of boxing, Stephen? Are you happy with how your career panned out?
No. I obviously set out to be world champion, and although I challenged for the world title a couple of times, didn't win the world title. So I'll never be happy. I'll never be fully settled with that. But I can put my head on the pillow of a night and not wait for the lack of trying. So I'm okay with it. But no, I'll never say I'm happy with how it went. Did I have a good career? Yeah, of course it did. Was it what I wanted? Definitely not. I set out to be a world champion, and I didn't quite achieve that. So I'll never say I was happy.
I think a lot of people in boxing, I think a bit of love, in my opinion, a bit of love has gone for the British and the Commonwealth title. I mean, obviously, everybody wants to become a world champion, but I look at the British and Commonwealth as a huge, huge achievement in boxing. And
Yeah,
you achieved that twice in your career, beating John Simpson twice. I was watching the second fight last night, actually.
yeah.
Obviously, jotting down a few details. A proud moment for not only yourself but for the rest of the family. Well, just talk to us about the meaning behind the British and the Commonwealth, what it means to a British fighter, and how important is it that, because we get fighters that aren't even going down the British route these days. What does it mean to a fighter to go down that route to achieve becoming a British champion? And but also, more importantly, what did it mean to you as well?
It was always something I wanted to do. I set out with the plan and the route I wanted to do, and that was always to be the domestic route, which the Lonsdale belt, such a prestigious belt, and it was something where the minute I saw it, I wanted it, and I think I won a two different weights, which is a proud achievement for me, but it was something that was going to be my route. A lot of people do bypass it now because there's international belts and stuff, and there's different routes to get to your world ranking to ultimately get a shot at the world title. But I made sure at both weights I wanted to win that British title because it's the best belt in boxing in my opinion. Obviously not worth as much as a world title, but in terms of actual belt, I think it's the best belt, and it's just something what I think every young fighter should aspire to do. You know, aim past it, but you know, try and get it on the way.
I know you're looking after a number of fighters now. You're managing Liv Hussey, Steve Clark, who had a successful pro debut last weekend. I believe you're working closely with Charlie Edwards, who's obviously past British level former world champion. But are you going to be hoping to take your fighters down the British and Commonwealth route, Stephen?
Yeah, listen, I train them fighters. My brother Paul manages Steve, and he manages Liv as well. He'll obviously plan the route with them, but he'd speak to me as the trainer to see which path I see is best. And I'd always advise them to go to British title route, but you know, we'll look what's there and thereabouts and what's the best option for the fighters. Every fighter's got their own individual route, and sometimes you might get offered good money to fight X, Y, or Z, and whatever's best for my fighters, I'll always advise them that. But the ones who are managed by Paul, it's entitled to him to sort of plan the route out.
As you said, obviously you wasn't fully satisfied because you come up short on 2 occasions in terms of challenging for the world title. April 2016 and of course November 2016. The first loss was against Jose Pedraza. Just talk to me about that. Obviously your first world title fight. I'm pretty sure you were confident that you'd leave with the world title around your waist. It didn't go the way you wanted. What did you have that defeat down to, Stephen?
Do you know what? It's just on the day. The best man won on the day. Could I have done things slightly differently? Yeah, possibly. But I prepared the best I could, and I give it up my heart. It was probably the one fight in my career where when I was in the ring, I remember thinking, "You're better than I thought you was." And he was a very, very highly skilled fighter, and he done little things in there what I sort of didn't expect. Where I thought, what he showed me, he's a really good fighter, and he's gone on now. He's won world titles at 2 different weight. I think he's trying to win a 3rd-weight world title now. So he's obviously a class act, and I knew that when I was in with him. I remember thinking, the only time I ever thought it. But when I studied him and watched him, he's the only fighter I ever thought in my head when I was in the ring, "You're better than I thought you was." And I know it took me out to me. He beat me on the day, and it's one of them that do I think I could have beaten him? Yeah, of course I could. On any other day, maybe so. But on that day, you've just sometimes you're second best, and unfortunately in boxing, if you're not first, you're last.
I mean, obviously, it must have been tough to take losing your first crack at the world title. Talk to me after the fight. What did you learn about yourself? And more importantly, how eager did it make you to sort of rebuild and go again?
I remember as soon as I got home, there was a big bill in Liverpool, a stadium show at Goodison a month later, and I was just like, get me on it. I was like, I know what, I phoned Eddie and was like, just get me on that bill. I'm going to be there anyway. So, may as well box on it and sort of get the ball rolling again for my next shot. I knew I wasn't done, and I knew there were still goals to achieve, and I still believed I could be world champion. So I thought the quicker I get the ball rolling, the better, and why not do it on a big stage like that? So I fought and won the WBC silver title a month later. So it was sort of, that was my mentality. I just thought, no, what? I knew what went wrong. I knew it wasn't my day, but I could go and sort of get the ball rolling towards another shot, and I've done that instantly. And it was a good choice from me. It was a good thing to do because again, it was another good night in my career, and it put me on the path towards another shot at the title.
That's one thing I really respect about you. You lose a world title fight, and then a month later you're fighting at Goodison Park. Just shows your mentality. Yeah. I mean, a lot of fighters, especially after a world title fight, have a bit of a break, 3-4 months, and then they go again. And you obviously did go again a month later, and then of course November 2016, I believe you fought for a world title again against Jason Sosa. Unfortunately, you lost that fight. That's 2 world title defeats. Talk to me about the second one. Was it more harder to take than the first one?
Yeah, I think it was tougher to take in terms of, I believe the style suited me better. I believe I fully believed I was convinced I was going to win the world title that night, and obviously I didn't. But it was just sort of I just felt I had a bit of bad luck against me that day, where a bit of a tough start. Where I think in round 2, he sort of like stood on my foot and sort of bundled me over, and about to step back up, and the referee started counting, and I was thinking, he hasn't punched me. Like, I think it was a shot to go down. I remember being dead confused, thinking, why is he counting me? And then round 3, I get a bad cut on me eye, and I'm sitting down in round 3 thinking I've got a terrible cut. I've had a 10-8 round against me when it shouldn't have been a knockdown, and I was like, it's just not my night, this. But I thought, I'm going to go for it and see how I do. And I pushed hard. I worked really hard that night, and I gave up my ad. And again, I was second best, but again, it wasn't up to the lack of trying. I was proud of myself for the effort I put in, considering the awful start I had. And it was one of them where again I put my head on my pillow and thought I couldn't have done no more. I'm okay with it.
At this point, after the second world title defeat, and obviously I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but did you get people sort of whispering in your ear, look, Stephen, you're British champion, you achieved a lot at amateur level as well, but you just lost two world title shots within the space of 6-7 months. Maybe walk away from the sport. Did you get that? Did you get people saying to you that they called it a day after the
No,
second world title defeat?
no, listen, none of that. If they were bad defeats, maybe so, but I lost both of them on points, and it was just sort of on the day. It wasn't like I knew I was still at that level, and I was only 30 or 31 by the second one, and I think it was just one of them. It was just sort of get it right. I can still do it. So I continued on after that in the hope that maybe third time lucky, I get another shot and we go and put it right. But there was never any talk or any thoughts about retiring. Then no, not at all.
Obviously, all the time in your career in 2019, usually people say the reason behind it is because you feel as if it was the right time. Was there any other reason why you called it a day, or was it just a case of the fact that you've been involved in the sport for a very long time and now is the right time to walk away?
No, it was just a case of COVID. Basically, I fought the end of 2019 and I'd won my last 3 fights, and I was sort of waiting for any opportunity to arise, whether I could get a European shot or a world, whatever, another world title shot, whatever it may be. And basically, COVID happened, and boxing seemed to just stop. And I remember thinking in my head, I'm at the wrong time of life. I was 34, not really the right stage of your career to be having a year or two out the ring. So I sort of started coming to terms with, I think I might retire. And then lo and behold, boxing did stopped and then started again with like garden shows and stuff. But that wasn't for me at the time. I think I really wanted to fight for a world title or nothing. And I basically made the decision then, after like 18 months out the ring, I thought, well, this is me, I'm done, I'm going to retire. And I announced my retirement then. And I've missed it every day since, but I just know you can't beat time. And I think if I was to carry on and come back after like 2 or 3 years out the ring, I'd only end up losing to someone I shouldn't have lost to. And, on my record, I only ever lost to 4 world champions, so there's no shame in it. I'm okay with all my defeats, but I think it would have killed me if I would have come back and lost to someone who shouldn't have laced my boots.
You mentioned how COVID had a huge impact, and it has had a huge impact, not on just boxing, but all types of sports. And I know a lot of fighters have walked away because of the impact COVID's had. Do you think that the sport of boxing will ever be the same after COVID? As I said, because a number of fighters I could name have walked away due to COVID.
Yeah, I just think it's timing. I think, listen, it robbed me of me sort of last hurrah, my last shot. But, it probably robbed a few young fighters of a lot more. There's a lot of young amateurs who didn't have any experiences what we got because they sat around for X amount of years. And there's probably young pros who missed the early developmental stages of the career because of it. So it probably affected others even worse than it did me, even though it robbed me of the last, a part of my career. It robbed others a part of theirs too. And I just think, look, you can't really cry over spilt milk. It's one of them things. We all went through it, just we all went through it at different times. And it's one of them where you just got to sort of put it behind you and move on as best you can. You can't be bitter about things.
You spent particularly your whole life in the sport of boxing with the rest of your family. I'm sure you saw things that you agreed with and that you didn't agree with. But, as the sport goes on and as, you yourself bring up young talent, what can the sport of boxing do to improve as we move on in time and sort of start looking at the next generation of the future of boxing?
Just listen, do a lot of what it has been doing, but also just keep developing. Listen, the fight is the most important thing in the sport, and as long as the fighters are getting well looked after in terms of trained properly, managed properly, and promoted properly, then we'll be in a better state of affairs when it comes to boxing. The fighters are the bread and butter of the sport, and they need looking after properly.
I'm not going to keep you for too long, even though I would love to speak to you for the rest of the day. But I know you've got family commitments. But I'm going to ask you one more question before I do let you go. Turkey Al Sheikh, he's had a major impact on boxing so far. We're seeing a lot of the big fights go over to Saudi Arabia. Unless, of course, we want the big fights in the UK as well. But do you see Saudi Arabia's involvement in boxing as a positive thing?
Yeah, listen, I think a lot was made of all the misfit stuff and the YouTubers and people hate it and stuff, but I just think it's more eyes on boxing. And same goes with this, you know, the Sheikh and the Saudi Arabia and stuff, and you know, they're throwing money at boxing, and it's taken a lot of fights away from Britain. But look, you know, we can all watch them on the telly, and at the end of the day, I think it just entails fighters getting better paid, and I'll never argue with that. Do you know what I mean? I think if fighters are in good money there, I hope even more can get it. You know what I mean? I think if you can keep throwing money at a lot of fighters and get them all well paid, then I'll never go against that.
Stephen, one final one. Just I want you to relay a message to the younger fighters out there that are still in the amateurs, that are still learning the trade. What advice would you give to the younger crop of fighters that are looking to make a career out of boxing?
First and foremost, enjoy it. You know, you've got to enjoy it to be learning and developing as you should. You need to be enjoying it, and you know, you look back on it when it's all done, and you'll wish you enjoyed it more, probably. But like myself, and put a lot of pressure on myself, and you know, I'd advise them not to do it. Don't put pressure on yourself. Just try and enjoy it as much as you can. But you know, ultimately, while you're doing it, you know, give it all you've got. At the end of the day, you only get out what you put in. So, you know, if you go in the gym to do a session for 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it may be, then for that 90 minutes, 2 hours, give it everything you've got, and you know, you'll get the best rewards from it.
Well, top man. Listen, Stephen, I know the last few days you've been a bit back and forth trying to get this episode done, but I appreciate you coming on, mate. Again, would have liked to have spoken to you for much longer, but I know you've got family commitments. Before I let you go, I appreciate all the time you've given us throughout the last few months. And yeah, Stephen Swifty Smith, thank you very much. My pleasure, and thank you for joining us on the Final Round podcast.
No worries, mate. Thank you.
Top man.